Hey y'all. So, a couple of things. One, I know you guys prefer shorter videos. So what I may start doing is just doing these little micro videos for you. And the other thing, so today is March 5th, 2019, and we are 2 days, 1 day, 2 day, 3 days out from this 72-hour love fest between Mercury stationing retrograde, Uranus changing signs, and New Moon in Pisces. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of information to consider as we're doing this. Now today, Mercury is at 29 degrees and so many minutes of Pisces. It's literally on the last thread of the sign, the minutes away from changing signs, and it is stopping there. So if you can imagine hanging off of a cliff by a branch, that's pretty much how Mercury is dangling there before it changes signs. At the same time, Uranus is in the same position. Uranus is at 29 and so many minutes of Aries. But it will keep moving forward, thank God. And it will change. So there's a lot of stuff that's just coming to an end right now, which is awesome, right? And of course, the other New Moon in Pisces. So typically, here's the thing. So typically with Neptune and with Mercury retrograde, there's often the conversation, with good reason, about things being hidden from view, and deceit and, deception and illusion, right? So this whole idea that things are being obfuscated, right, or made more difficult to see. But some things I want you to consider about Neptune and Pisces, because there's a very heavy Neptune emphasis this month, right, and certainly because of this retrograde. So the first thing is we have Mercury in the last degrees of the last sign of the zodiac, as it's stationing, literally like hanging off the cliff by a branch. And this is pretty significant. There are a lot there. It's not that there are necessarily major things happening as much as when you have a situation like this, last minutes, last degrees, last sign sort of stuff. It's more of a profundity, right? A profoundness. So there's some serious, heavy, weighty stuff that's at play right now that's much bigger than it appears, right? So things full of portent. Things full of portent. So if you can imagine, think about that for a second. If you were hanging off a cliff by a branch, right? A branch, your life is literally hanging in the balance by the strength of something that is smaller than your leg, maybe barely bigger than your arm. This is pretty big stuff. So there's a lot of faith and there's a whole lot of hope and a whole lot of belief that just maybe like you can actually get through this. And you won't die, but it's not necessarily the branch that's going to keep you okay and not giving up and just letting yourself fall to your death or your demise. It's going to be your faith that this branch will hold out long enough until help can get there. Okay. And by some miracle, some manner, form, or effigy of assistance and support and saving grace will show up. So, and that's kind of what this is about. So we won't necessarily see huge events. Well, certainly no more huge we've been seeing. I would look for March, actually, when we get down into those Aries signs with the other planets. That's when we should start visibly seeing stuff. But for right now, there's a lot of people who are literally on their last threads. And it's faith and hope and belief, really sheer absolute conviction and belief that's going to keep them from jumping off the bridge, as it were. And it could be you. It could be you. So with that said, the other thing is that Neptune softens things. Pisces softens things. And if you're willing to listen, if you're willing to get into your spiritual work, if you're willing to get into your intuitive nature, if you're willing to listen to your gut, all right, Neptune will be your best friend. This month will be an astounding month for you, because what will happen is not only will your instincts be pretty sharp and you're going to get a lot of information that's going to be more clear, and you may end up feeling a little gaslighted, because typically with strongly Neptunian people or Piscean people, they often feel like they're being gaslighted because people don't want to admit their crap. So Pisces or Neptune picks it up and says, hey, but I don't understand. I'm kind of feeling like, and everyone's like, oh no, I don't talk about, oh, and they try to make the other Pisces Neptune person feel crazy. So you may You may be honorary Pisceans this month, or honorary Neptunians this month, with people gaslighting because you're picking up on stuff they don't want you to pick up on, so they're going to deny. So there's that. And the other thing is that Neptune and Pisces rule water. Water is the universal solvent. It dissolves everything, okay? So with water or Neptune as a universal solvent, what that also does is it helps to wash away or wipe away the things that would block our vision. So it's not always about deception. Some people will say that it's deception because they don't want you seeing the truth, right? No. But in many cases, that Neptune will wash away the film that prevents you from seeing clearly. So we may have a month of revelations, okay? So don't be surprised if people inadvertently say or do things that like reveal deceptions they've been practicing for a long time. Now all of a sudden they accidentally trip up and spill the beans on themselves. Okay, I just had that happen earlier this morning. So that is something to consider as we're going through the month. The other thing is that if it doesn't feel right, and you know it's not your biases, you know it's not your prejudices, like there's something not quite, it's probably not. So this is going to be a very difficult month to separate, especially this week, separate our prejudices and biases from our actual instincts and intuition. But you're going to have to work harder at doing that, because if you can do that, the information you get may be life-saving, right? Or situation saving. Because remember, like 29 degrees, so many minutes, Uranus and Mercury this week, everything's kind of hanging by a tree branch. So you got to learn to turn within to find a solution for out there. So that is your update this week to get you through the rest of this week. And, we'll start again next week with something for the rest of the month. But this week is a critical month. We got a whole lot of stuff going on, jam-packed in the 72 hours. It won't be great. It won't be great. It won't be pretty. Now, also too, there are some people. So here's the thing. I don't want you guys to get negative. So Neptune is the mirror of the mind, right? So whatever you focus on mentally, this is the thing about Pisces and Neptune. They're alchemists. They transform things. They know that the reality we have right now is shaped by what's going on in here. Okay. With that said, Neptune, strong Mercury, we're not going to get negative, because whatever it is that you're cogitating and believing and holding clearly in your mind and in your feelings as a real possibility, you're going to draw to yourself, right? So we're not going to focus on any of that negative stuff. You can go be a big wet blanket somewhere else. Do the whole gloom and doom reports with some other people. The other thing is I wouldn't necessarily recommend magic. Most people are not evolved enough, myself included, to be able to handle this level. So it's kind of like the difference between the electricity coming out of your socket in your house, electricity coming through a power line out there. Is a very, very powerful time for magic. But if you don't have control of your mind, it's all going to turn into a hot mess. So those of you who are familiar with Aleister Crowley are probably also familiar with how Aleister Crowley spent the last years of his life, which was crazy, locked up in a madman's cell. Because he was playing around with magic, and he got involved in advanced magic, which was way too powerful for what he was able to work with at his level of development. And it literally, him and more than a few other people ended up suffering devastating outcomes from this. So right now, with all of this Neptune stuff, it's like power wattage versus indoor current, like with electricity. There's a lot going on out there. So resist the temptation to get involved in any type of witchy, voodoo, magical stuff. And if you do, make it as benign as possible and make it as simple as possible. And mostly, honestly, like just meditating and visualizing. Just meditating and visualizing is super amp wattage increase. So stick with that. But remember, all of this is mental work. All magic is mental, internal work. Even metaphysical stuff that we do with visualizations and vision boards, it's all inner world stuff that we're manifesting the outer world with. So with that said, if you're doing this, understand that we've got major megadose wattage going on, so everything's getting amplified. And if you don't have enough control over your mind to be able to sit through a meditation and quiet your mind for more than 5 minutes, you don't have enough control of your mind to adequately handle what we're dealing with out here on top of the magic you're playing with. So That's your warning. All right, darlings. Talk to you later. Bye.